Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to this week's episode of the Sensei Playbook podcast, automotive marketing strategy for the dealer world, those who are looking to do less and hopefully make more. Man, oh man, I say it every week, but you are in for the most ultimate treat. The one, the only, the semi-infamous Damian Boudreaux is going to be with us for part one of the Sensei Playbook, followed by next week's part two. And I promise you, you do not want to miss it. This is a gentleman that practices make a friend, make a deal. This is a gentleman that is within his integrity. This man has spoken on stages in front of hundreds and thousands of people. He's coached the single greatest car seller in the world today to records we never thought were possible. He is a pioneer of the light. And I just want you to know that strap it down, grab something to drink. You're not going to want to miss it. Don't listen to this on anything other than 1.0 speed, because the information, inspiration, and influence you're about to receive is going to be a game changer.
Welcome to the Sensei Playbook, the ultimate how-to podcast for growing and amplifying your brand within the digital world's 3-second landscape. Join Bill Courtwright and Chris Snellgrove as they discuss the right tools and strategies for building the best online marketing strategy for your business. Tune into leading business leaders who share information and impart inspiration on providing smooth customer experience and successfully scaling your venture. This is your chance to achieve rapid growth in the highly competitive online market. Let's get this episode started with your hosts, Bill and Chris.
Remember some of the first talks you gave? You were like, I don't care how many people show up. I will give that talk.
You remember my first seminar?
In
3
Atlanta.
people showed up. Me,
Yeah.
the recording guy, and the student. That was my first seminar. And then I said, dude, you hit the lottery. I told the recording guy to go back to your office. And then I went to the dealership and I sold him 3 cars that day.
You worked with him one-on-one.
I walked with him one-on-one. First place we went was sat in the service lounge. And I said, go get all your deals you worked the last 5 days. And let's go sit in the service lounge and have a cup of coffee. And then I started working with him on that. And then I started talking to a customer, found him a customer in the service lounge. He went and did a demo ride on that, sold that. Then I found a deal in his old deals that didn't get put together the day before, or a couple of days before. And then we started calling people that he knew, and he sold the 3rd car at about 5 o'clock.
That is cool.
That was the first seminar I ever did. 3 people showed up.
And now you go in front of huge audiences. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, and I sucked back then too. That was right. People had no idea how bad I was.
You had a background in speaking. You've always been a speaker. When did you get started in speaking?
My first time I ever taught was when I worked for a van conversion company in Arlington, Texas. And it was Regency Conversions. And I was asked to bring a folder to Don Davis, our owner's Oldsmobile store. And I went to bring the folder to Miss Linda, and I hear Boudreaux come to the used car lot. Can't be me. I'm just pulled up. And Damian Boudreaux, come to the used car office. I'm like, who in the hell knows me? And I go in there, and it's Ron Hoffman, who I worked for years ago, and he just loved me. And he says, would you take all of my salesmen into the conference room and teach them how you sold cars? I said, I don't know how to teach. And so I go in the conference room, and I got a blackboard, right? And I'm writing on the blackboard. My first time I ever wrote the apple tree. And I started writing the apple tree, right? The story of the apple tree. And about 45 minutes in, and I'm just going, man. They're just loving it. I said, is that enough? He said, no, tell us more. And so the owner peeks his head in, Don Davis, and he goes, Boudreaux, what are you doing in my Oldsmobile store? I said, Ron asked me to come teach these people, and he said, you need to come see me after you finished. And I said, am I fired? He said, no, come see me in my office. And I go in his office, which turns out his stepson's office was right next to the conference room. He said, who taught you to teach like that? And I said, I don't know how to teach. I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to train. Y'all got, he said, I ain't never heard anybody talk to salesmen like that. How much you make in a month? And I told him how much I was making a month. He said, well, call Tom Bissett. You don't work for him this month. You work for me. You're coming to work for the Oldsmobile and all my stores. He had like 20 something stores and the Learjet franchise and Regency yacht sales. And he says, you're teaching all my damn salesmen. They need to hear from you, son.
Wow.
And that was how I started teaching.
Wow.
I had no clue I could teach. I did walk around presentations, but I never taught.
That's incredible. Wow.
That's how I started.
When was that? What year was that?
Shit, I don't know. 90s. 1993, maybe.
Wow.
Andy was still alive. My daughter was still alive. So 92, 93. Yeah.
I graduated high school in 93.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a great year.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let's back up from there. How did you actually get started in the automotive space? The early days.
Yeah, I had a friend with a transmission shop, and after I would paint houses and tape and float sheetrock, I would go to his transmission shop and learn how to work on transmissions. So I'd go home and eat, and then I'd run to the transmission shop. Willie King, great friend of this day.
Lake Charles? Is this Charles?
Lake Charles. And I'd go to his transmission shop and I'd start changing oil. And then I'd start learning how to break down transmissions, right? And cleaning parts and stuff. And then he decided it would be an intelligent decision to open up Broad Street Auto Sales, and I would make an incredible salesperson. And he made me a partner. And after 90 days, he fired me because I suck at running things. And I wasn't a good salesman. And I went to the Chevrolet store, Cable Chevrolet, and started to change oil. I'm good at that. And went to change oil. And about a month and a half after that, a new owner comes in. And my Uncle Will is the attorney for the new owner. And he's not an uncle by marriage, but he's an uncle, right? I grew up with a family. And Uncle Will saw me, what are you doing back here? And I said, well, I change oil here. He said, bullshit, Neil, this guy is part of the Boudreaux family. Everybody in town knows him. He needs to be selling cars. But he taught me into selling cars. And that's how I started selling cars.
Wow.
And I sucked for 3.5 years. I hated it. Everything about it.
What changed?
We'll have to edit some of those out. What changed is I had months where I was almost salesman of the month, and the next month I was almost fired. And about 1.5 years into my career, I figured out that you can't make money in Louisiana. You got to go to Texas. So I went to Texas, and for 2 years, I still sucked because it turns out the guy in Louisiana still was the guy in Texas. And it wasn't about, he followed me. He sucked there too. And, you think you're in the wrong business. Well, I thought I was in the wrong business, because I just got tired of every time I'd come in, I'd have to convince another person that didn't know me that I didn't kill a child on the way to work. And then I wasn't a serial killer, right? And I was a good guy, but nobody liked me, trusted me, or wanted to believe in me. So you had to sell them on yourself, sell them on the dealership, sell them on the product, sell them on this. And the whole time you're going, my God, this is a lot of work. And life should come easy, in my opinion. And at the time, it didn't. And there's 80 salesmen at this dealership, right? There's a lot of competition. It's the #1 dealership in the country. So you get a lot of great habits. You get a lot of processes and stuff that are designed to be productive, efficient, profitable, scalable. And so there's a lot of great discipline there, right? Motivation. They know how to work a deal. But after 3.5 years, I went into Steve and I just said, I can't do this no more. I don't like it. I don't know what I want to do, but I ain't good at this. And he started laughing. He said, Boudreaux, there ain't nobody like you. And he believed in me more than I believed in myself. I said, Steve, I hate this business. This is terrible. I mean, I don't enjoy it. I'm never home. I'm here from cane to cane. Some months I make good. Some months I don't make good. He said, I'm tired. I said, I'm tired. He said, when's the last time you took a week off? I said, I just got back from Thanksgiving. He said, no, a week. I said, I can't take a week off. I said, I got kids in private school. I got a future ex-wife that's going to want this house, and I just hated it. And he said, take a week off, go home, go to Louisiana, go hunting or fishing or trapping or dancing or whatever you fools do over there. I'm going to pay you to leave. If you come back and you say you want to do this business, I'm going to shake your hand. And you and I are going to go to work every morning at 7:30 before the 8 o'clock sales meeting, you in my office. I want to hear about your day. We're going to make sure you start your day off right. And if you don't want to do this business after, I shake your hand. We're friends for life. And we are friends for life, by the way. And I left for Louisiana. And what I saw that November it was at the end of November, I went to my dad's drugstore. And I grew up in a drugstore that my dad, my Uncle Jerry owned that belonged to my grandfather before them. And I started working there when I was 6 years old. And I never noticed the drugstore because I was just part of the drugstore, right? You learn to do 3 things in the morning. I had the same 3 tasks every morning, right? You learn how to do things. But what I didn't notice until I was older was the same people that were coming into that drugstore when I was 22 were coming into that drugstore when I was 6. And Dad didn't advertise, and he didn't, they would, hey, cuz, how you doing? Daddy would wave at them when they'd walk in the drugstore, right? And they'd say, hey, you got a fresh pot of coffee on? And Daddy'd say, yeah, Johnny just made it. And he'd walk to the back of the drugstore, and him and his friend would talk about nothing for 30 minutes. And then they'd leave the drugstore, and Uncle Jerry wouldn't even take a TO on them. They didn't sell shit. But it was just like, it was like the whole thing was about relationships. The whole thing, if you couldn't afford your medicine was free. That was how Dad and Uncle Jerry did business, right? And they were part of the community. On election day, everybody came there on Saturday, right? Everybody came there on Tuesday. Everybody was at the drugstore, right? It was the place to gather. Coffee was always available for people. And I thought to myself, 3.5 years in the business, who come to the dealership and just had a cup of coffee with me on Saturday morning? Talk about the LSU football game, or the fish biting? How many ducks they killing? What's going on with people's families? Not once. Because the way you make money in the car business is you get out there on the front and you get your ass up. But Dad didn't do business that my whole life. He never ran the first ad. He never waited on people who didn't know him. Everybody who walked in that drugstore knew who they were. And so I decided I'm going to do the business totally different. I'm not going to wait on anybody who doesn't know me ever again. I'm tired of convincing people that I'm not a bad kid. I want to only talk to people who know me. And so I took a spiral notebook and 17 pages front and behind of everybody who knew me. It's not what you know, and it's not who you know. It's who knows you. And all these people knew me, from my dad, from my school, from my sport, from working at George Theriault, to working at the oil field, to working in the refineries, to working at cleaning up oil spills, to working at everywhere I worked before, I knew people. And I called every one of them and I talked to them about their favorite subject, which is what?
Them.
They loved the conversation. And every damn one of them screwed up and asked the same question. So, Boo, what you do now? And I said, oh, man, I got the best job in the whole world. I can drive anything I want. IROC, Z, Corvette, no top, double cab, dually, red faded to black cherry, gorgeous. And you know what? Them people in Louisiana, they killing y'all. They making a fortune on y'all. Them salesmen are making a mint on you customers because they got to. They only sell 100 cars. Nobody buys cars cheaper than we do in Texas. You don't have to buy a car in Texas, but you sure as hell got to come get a price in Texas. I'll give you a price. I'll give you your trade. You don't have to buy from me. Go back home. Use my price as leverage to get a better deal. Bring me some food. The food here sucks. And they started coming.
How far?
from Lake Charles, 2.5 hours, Cameron, 3 hours, DeRidder, DeQuincy, Hackberry, Gillis, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Sulphur, everybody was staying. Man, I'm telling you, that Boudreaux selling cars in Texas. They buying cars, they selling cars cheaper. The local dealer called me. He says, you selling out of your territory. I said, them my people. Yeah, he came after. He hated me till he died. I don't know if he still hates me or not.
Oh my God.
But that month, the month before that, I'd never sold more than 20 cars. I sold 20 cars once in my career. And that December, I sold 63 cars. And I never sold less than 28 cars ever again in my career. My best month is 102. I had months at 85. I had months at 76. I just only waited on people, and they would wait in line for me, and they wouldn't let anybody else talk to them. And so that is how I good. And I went from that dealership to the #1 GMC dealership in the country, where I was treated and those people taught me. Ramsey Gilman and Jay Gould, those people taught me how the business side of the business, not just about cars, right? But they were a dealership that was all about reputation, all about taking care of the customer. The other dealership wasn't. They didn't care about the customer, right? But this dealership, man, fit my values, right? And so that's how I got started. And that's how I decided that I just did it different. It was so shocking that about 3 months in, my general manager at the Chevy store I worked at asked me, okay, what are you doing? And I told him. He said, well, don't tell anybody what you're doing. It was almost like he didn't want anybody to know, because he wanted people waiting on us. They ran a lot of advertising. I wasn't waiting on any of them people. I didn't like them people, right? And then that's how it started, right?
Wow. That's cool. When did you move into the teaching part? Is that when you were pulled in front of the group at that store?
You know the story of my daughter. So I couldn't work in a dealership anymore because you have to be there all the time. And if Andy went into ICU, I left, right? And Ramsey let me do that. But then we found out that I could work in the conversion van industry and work as a retail expert at dealerships for like Lone Star Ford and Gilman and Mack Haik Ford, and there was a few others, right? And get Clear Lake Dodge.
And this is in the
90s,
when the conversion van thing was at its top. I mean, the popularity was huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was a retail expert, so I would tell salespeople, you bring me every customer, and I don't have to sell my vehicle, which might have been designer or Sherrod, because I was a hired gun, right? I was a hired gun for these people. They paid me $1,000 a day to go work in these stores and just retail vans. And I told the salesman, you bring me the customer, I'll put them on the right van. If I need to close it, I'll close it for you. And then I was having salespeople bring me 15, 20 customers a day. And you just get really good at process with 15, 20 customers a day, getting opportunities. So you learn how to ask great questions to narrow the field down of a very unique, subset of vehicles, and then understand what their buying motives were, what I call the PP, what the problems they were trying to avoid in a van or their current vehicle, and the possibilities, the dreams that they wanted. And probably 80% of the people in the conversion van, suburban truck mindset were not looking to get out of a vehicle because of a problem. Most all of them was the fantasy of what this lifestyle could bring. And if you understood how to sell that fantasy of, and you could do this, and you could do this, and oh my God, your family's going to do this. And if you could create the picture of all the opportunities that this lifestyle will bring to them, then your vehicle was always more value than price. And so that part of my career taught me a lot about transactional selling in a way that was totally different than you're taught in dealerships. Dealerships are taught, ask questions to figure out what vehicle they want. And I say, no, 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 no. Ask questions to find out what they currently have and the problems wrapped around that vehicle or that opportunity or that place there are in their life, and the possibilities of what they want in their life. And if you're focused on problems and possibilities, now you're not selling 2,000 pounds of metal and steel, and they're not tied to the white with gray leather. They are tied to the problem and possibility that you're helping them overcome. So often you see, I want the white with gray leather. I want the white one. I want the white one. I want the white one. The manager takes a turn and sells them the blue one. Well, what happened with the customer? Well, somewhere along the line, they came to the recollection that the blue one would also accomplish the same goal that the white one did. They just had to let go of something that they latched on too early. But if you don't let them latch on to it early, you make it more about the PP, the problems and possibilities. It changes the whole sales process, and it makes closing easier. Because how do you negotiate on what their problem is that you're solving versus a car? You see, everybody thinks people want to buy a car. They don't want to buy a car. They want to buy what the car does for them. That's why they buy a car. And it could be a lot of things, but they're not asking the question to discover what does this car do for them. They're asking questions. They go through their Rolodex of inventory in their mind and they go, boom, I got one. Here, let's go look at this one. And that is why so many people get put on the wrong car. And that's why they are on cars that they have to negotiate price that they make mini deals on, because they're not thinking of the outcome that they should be.
Makes sense.
Sure, it absolutely does.
Well, everybody teaches this.
Well, not in the automotive industry, but
Nobody teaches it.
I've certainly heard it before.
Because they're all transactional and they're all incestuous. They all teach the same damn shit. They all teach word tracks. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you in the early days you were mentored. I'm sure you're grateful for the fact that you were, and that opened your eyes up to a new way of doing business. And listen, you know, you're well known in the automotive industry. You know, you speak on stages. You've been in the NADA, and there's a lot of people who are going to listen to this episode that may have
never
heard
been to NADA.
Is that true?
I signed up. I signed up for it once, and I was talking about this guy who sells 100 cars, and they didn't even respond to me. Because who wants to listen to Ali? We were shocked.
Okay. Well,
so I said, fuck them.
Good enough. Good enough.
Not my audience.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this. So regardless of where you've spoken, you are relatively known within the automotive industry. But let's just wrap our head around the possibility, PP, that somebody's new to the car business, has never heard of Boo before. What advice would you give a brand new salesperson that's got hungry mouths at home, a wife that can't work, got to make it right away? What would you tell them?
They're going to tell you, you can make $100,000 a year. And you're going to want to have $100,000 a year. So you think that's your goal, to make $100,000 a year. Maybe I'll be good at something. And then they tell you what to do. And you do it, and you're successful for about 60 days. Yes? And then you quit being successful after that, right?
I've heard the story.
Why? Why did they quit selling?
Enlighten us.
The industry says it's because they got their dealer's license. They got smart. They learned how to read a bureau. They learned how to appraise a car. They don't listen to desk anymore. But that's not what happened. Because the question that should have been asked is not what happened that caused them to not sell anymore, but what caused them the first 60 days to sell a large closing percentage, knowing nothing. What did they know when they first came into the car business? Two things. They knew what they wanted. Look at that. The balloon showed up again. There's something I do with my hands that the balloons show up. I'm dying to know what I'm doing that makes the balloon show up.
How do you do that?
I don't know. It just shows up sometimes.
Just it's the single finger. Do it again. Because if you gotta zoom in, but I have my turned off. If you go where it says reactions, there's an up caret and you can hit recognize hand gestures.
Recognize hand gestures. Okay.
Now you're going to start getting some things.
Animated reaction. I don't see balloons on my list.
Make a thumbs up, Chris. Just hold it right in front of the camera, still like this. Okay, well, maybe because it's over your face. Do it to the side.
Damian, do it. Damian. I can't get it. It's funny.
It'll show up again. We'll figure it out. Right?
Okay.
So what happens is they know two things. The first thing is they have aspiration. They have ambition. Maybe I can be good at something. They have a vision of having a better life. So they see a more promising future. Yes, that's what they do first. The only thing they know is who to be and how to be themselves. And then we tell them what to do, and nobody shows us how to do what we're asked to do in the business and be ourselves. So all of a sudden, we're out of integrity. We're incongruent. And so we don't feel right. And that's why 71.9% of the people fail, is it doesn't work for them because we're focused on doing and not on being. And when I work with salespeople, the first thing I do with them is I make sure they're congruent, first with what they see. Second is the being part of it. The third is the doing part of it so they can have. That's called the manifestation formula. Our manifestation formula is, what do you want to have? Here's what you do. Go get it up. And that's why so many people fail. If you can have new people be who they are and understand who they are, and then when you tell them what to do, make it work for who they are, they'll be unstoppable. But they're not doing that because that means we have to pay attention to humanity, and we'd rather get another up.
Interesting. Okay. This might be somewhat of an esoteric question for you, Mr. Boudreaux, but how do you define success?
Peace. Peace of mind, peace of spirit, peace of just peace. Just being harmonious and flowing with the planet and the universe. That's success. That's where I am.
So, Damian, I often joke because I've known you a long time, and I'm like, why are you so damn happy all the time? And what's your response?
Because I tried unhappy and it's tough. I wasn't even good at it.
But truly, I mean, the backstory is that you weren't always this way. So if you don't mind, like, do tell the backstory. Like, there was a moment in your life in which I think your mindset changed. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, you think? So it's called the Magical Misery Tour. And, when you have children, your life changes forever. You got children, Bill?
I have two boys, 10 and 7.
You remember the first one born?
Absolutely.
Came out, looked up at you, and said, life will never be the same. Prophetic.
Yeah.
My second one comes out, and she says, I'm going to show you what you look like. Because she's me. Every blog post you've ever read is her. She writes them. You can't tell us apart. She knows my voice She is better at my voice than I am in some ways, and a better writer than I will ever be, right? The third one comes out. She's my teacher. The fourth one comes out, and she puts life back in space, right? Puts life back into life. My third one, Andy, is my teacher. And when she was born, I'll never forget, they wouldn't let me hold her. She was born 2 pounds, 9 ounces. And she wasn't breathing when she came out. And they rushed her into, and I followed them into the thing. And I said, you need to get her to breathe. And they said, they both turned away from her. Sir, you need to step out of here. I said, y'all are abandoning her. And then I never forget the first time I got to see her, they let me walk into the room with the incubators in it. And I had to put this gown on. And I saw my baby. Imagine you walk up to this incubator and you slide your hands into these gloves, into this box. And that's the first time you get to touch your kid. And the warrior in you comes out. I got your ass. And that started the journey of 7 years of hell. And I guess God has his children that he needs to beat to a demoralized, quivering pulp and put them into the absolute nothingness of, you need to realize you ain't nothing special, that everything you have is meaningless. And that's what that little girl gave me. Because I am nothing. I am not important. In the whole scheme of things, I'm a drop of water in the ocean. And my role here is not that important. My impact may be. I simply need to be at peace every day with love and being healthy and helpful in a flow of godliness and love. I need to be at peace with life. And I certainly need to trust that I'm not in control. I accept things as perfect. And I surrender to whatever's supposed to happen is perfect. And I love unconditionally with no expectation of getting anything back. I am grateful for everything. And that is the lessons of my teacher. And because of that teacher, I get to show up every day the way that I do in life. And I'm happy for nothing. It doesn't matter if I bump my knee or a $100 bill comes in the mail. Still happy. Because happiness is just an emotion that is a choice. Same with anger. Sometimes sadness shows up. I invite it to show up. Oh, you're back. Have a seat. We need to talk. And sadness shows up and I embrace sadness. Now, you can't stay long, but I'm glad you're here. Because you have to accept your emotions, right? And so Andy is the reason I am who I am today. The journey of that child, the loss of my children, the kidnapping of my children, the following them to 3 states, the chasing them down, the fighting to be a dad in every creative way possible in an environment that is not, built for dads, but built for moms. And so I learned how to be the most incredible dad in the world. And I don't have to follow rules. I have to be a great dad. And so I learned how to be a great dad. And my children's mom was a great mom. she just was trying to be her best self. And that, a lot of times went against me. But she was a great mom, and still to this day is a great grandmother, right? But we were two young kids with a child that was critically disabled in a world that we were broke, and we had 3 other children that were trying to get paid attention to. And it was tough to see their little asses behind an ICU screen.
Thanks for
So
sharing that.
That'll get you some perspective.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's kind of created who you are, and I knew the backstory, but wow, just to hear it's powerful.
Yeah. It makes you great, or it makes you suck. Again, it's your perspective, right?
Yep.
The greater the struggle, the greater the obligation.
Yeah, and it also is why I can look at people who are going through a struggle, whatever it is, and with all my heart, I can look at them and say, and Chris has had some tough times. In Chris's tough times, I can say, buddy, it's all gonna be okay.
I often call Damian for parental advice. Remember when I called you and I was having trouble with my 18-year-old, and you said, buy our luggage. I said, excuse me? He said, buy our luggage. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, buy our luggage, pack her shit, and put her out. I was like, are you serious? He was like, dead serious. And you said that your parents did that to you guys, right?
Yeah, all 7 of us, our graduation from high school present was luggage. Enjoy the luggage. Go on.
Wow. Yeah. Well, tell us what you're doing with Ali Reed and the Auto Training Academy.
Well, Auto Training Academy's kind of changed, or is wanting to change. So back when you and I first met was 2004-ish, right? 2003. You were still at Auto Trader, still the #1 Auto Trader rep in the nation.
It was close. That was closer to 2002, because about
2002.
Yep.
Okay, so we met in 2001. Right.
Yep, that's right.
So at the time, I was working with a computer company that was sending me off to their dealers to teach relationship sales, using their software to build and maintain relationships as a CRM, not as a tool to manage transactional salespeople, but I was teaching it to manage relationships in the community, right? And in that journey, I started developing the relationship sales model. And so I would go around the country teaching relationship sales. And then as a visionary in 2004-ish, I guess, huh, Chris, is when I started talking to Bob more about going out and doing this nationally. He was promoting Grant Cardone at the time.
Yep.
And, I'm from Lake Charles, so I've known Grant my whole life. And if Grant can do it, I can do it, because, he's just another guy from Lake Charles, right? And Bob didn't think I could do it. And really, probably nobody thought I could do it. But Bob had coached me and taught me. And then, oddly enough, in I think 2006 or 2007, my daughter and I were in Nashville watching television, and there was an ad for Tony Robbins that came on. And Mick, my little badass daughter, who just is an overachiever in life, says, they did the firewalk thing. And Mick goes, I'll do that. You will? Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. So about, a week later, it was my week again. She comes by the house, the ad comes up and goes, you want to do that, huh? I said, no, I don't want to do that. Too late, I bought the tickets. And Chris, I believe you came with us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in Atlanta. Yeah.
It was in Atlanta. And so Mick and I went down there, and I thought I was going down there for Mick. And at that time, I was just like, you know, I'm going to go off and do this thing. And in 2007, I sold everything I owned to chase a dream, to teach relationship sales all over the country, and to introduce this model of only waiting on your people, right? And so I went around the country selling tickets. I went to Atlanta, and you heard the story about my first seminar. I guess that wasn't, you want me to say it again since it's not recording?
Yeah.
So I go all over Atlanta, and I go to different dealerships, and I sell tickets. There's a guy named Steve Peacock, and there's all kind of people let me come do sales meetings in their dealership. I sell tickets. I don't make much money, but I'm going to do a seminar. And it's a one-day seminar. You come on in, and I'm going to change your life. Guaranteed, right? So I hire Chris has somebody who can record it. So we hire the recording person. The first seminar I do, I'm loaded up. We got all kind of refreshments in the hotel. We are ready. I got a microphone. Holy shit, I got a microphone. And I am going to get in front of this thing, and I am going to kill it. And I get there, and the first seminar I do, there are 3 people who attend. The recording guy, me, and a guy from I think he was from a Toyota dealership. And I told the recording guy, I said, you can carry your ass home. I told the salesman, I said, you hit the lottery. We going to your dealership. And we sold 3 cars that day for him, paid for his ticket. And that was my first seminar. And then I went off to California and Phoenix and all over. And finally, I was beat up and tore up in 2008-ish, 2009, maybe 2008, I think it was. Bob is still coaching me. And remember, Bob Moore is the greatest promoter in the history of the car business. Promoted Jackie Cooper, put him on his first stage, Grant Cardone, and then he's looking for the next person who's Grant or Jackie. And he's got Birdie calling him. He's got probably 20 people calling him every day. I could be the next Grant. I could be the next Grant. And I called him and I said, will you do Houston with me? Just do one seminar with me. I can't do it. Dealers are a pain in the butt to deal with walking in their store. And it's just a different skill set that he has, you know? And so he came to Houston. Oh my God, he sold more tickets than I sold in 7 seminars. And so I do the seminar. And after the seminar, I say, well, what'd you think? He says, I don't think I ever seen people come out of a seminar like that before. I said, is that good? He said, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's just that I think it's just more spiritual. I don't know. It's like they came out a different person. It's just different. I don't know, Boudreaux. Let's do one more in Houston. So we did another one in Houston. I'm making more money now with 2 seminars that I'm giving him probably 70% of the money, right? And we did another one. He said the same thing, right? And so he goes off and he promotes somebody in Cleveland and somebody else in Portland. And then all the financial crisis happens. And out of the blue one day, I'm getting a phone call from Bob, and he says, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Dallas. He said, you want me to come? I said, you're Bob Moore. Yes, I want you to come. And he said, well, I got some dealers I want you to meet. They're going to come to the seminar, and they're going to tell me if I should promote you or not. And he had 6 dealers in that back row, and they were not smiling. I was funny as hell, too. I mean, I'm pulling stuff out. I'm funny sometimes. Sometimes I can say things, and I'm just going, man, that's funny. I don't know where I came. The audience is on the floor. These 3 people look like they're looking at a guy who's going to the gallows. Man, they ain't smiling at all, man. I'm like, holy shit, I am unimpressive. And when we finished the seminar, we all go to dinner. I can't remember where we went. We went to some steakhouse. Maybe it's Bob's Steakhouse or something. And I said, well, should he promote me or not? And every one of them said, you're better than about anybody I've ever seen. You're definitely different than Grant. He said, you got a long way to go. But he says, your message is what salespeople need to hear. And all of them said yes. And that's how I got to work with Bob. And Chris will tell you, Bob Moore changed my life. Bob Moore did what he did to Cooper and Grant. You know, Jackie died, so he can't give Bob credit. But I can tell you that Grant, you know, Bob Moore, Grant is who Grant is because Bob Moore promoted him for so long. He was known all over, right? I can't take credit for my success. Bob Moore was in every city all the time with 3 teams. I got to go teach. And he never asked me to teach anything that wasn't my content. And I got to explore. I got to watch how things landed. I got to coach people. And, you know, we did Detroit 3 times a year. And first time we did Detroit was 2010. Well, I did it in 2009, but 2010, we go do Detroit. And I'm doing the seminar and I don't know what's going on. I'm just paying attention to the room and the energies of the room. And I noticed that right over there, there's this kid writing down everything I wrote, everything I spoke. He was, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm good today. That guy's liking this stuff. And at the end of the seminar, he came up and he said, that guy, Greg Cole, he really sold 60. I said, yeah. He said, he's for real? I said, you want to talk to him? And I put him on the phone with Greg, and he said, I want to try this. He was kind of doing it already. And then I started coaching him. And coaching is a different thing. First, I had to teach him, right? I had to teach him. You know, he's been taught to sell cars. I'm teaching him to solve problems, right? So that was the first mindset shift, right? And if you ask him, what's the number one thing, when you talk to him, you'll be able to ask, what's the number one thing you learned from Damian? And he'll say, it's awareness. Just being aware of everything around you, of the people, of how it affects them, of their humanity, of what might not be said, but is underneath what isn't being said. There's a story behind people that a lot of times either we don't care about or we aren't willing to explore, that they are desperately wanting or needing to share. And if we just come across as caring, they can trust you. They can, and trust is an incredible gift, right? Trust is an incredible word, right? Why don't customers trust salespeople? There's several reasons. The first reason is they don't feel like salespeople understand them. My voice coming across okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Yeah. I feel like I got a little tickle. They don't feel like you understand them or want to understand them. And part of the whole word track thing is listen to respond does not lend the soul to believing I understand you. It lends me to believe that you have a motive tied to what is best for you, which is the second thing. How does your motive come across, right? The third thing is are you capable? Do you know what you're doing, right? The next thing is your values. What is your true character? And how does that show up, right? And I teach character, right? You should know who you are at your best. And Chris has done this exercise with me, and it's a life changer. 60 positive characteristics of who you are at your best, right? And it changes your vision of God's creation, which is you. And it's not about extrinsic labels. It's about intrinsic adjectives, right? And finally, do you have a track record of helpfulness, of being trustworthy? The great thing about the relationship business is everybody already knows you, likes you, and trusts you. So it's easy to close 80% of the deals, right? It's not about selling. It's about helping people buy. Persuasive people don't tend to listen. They tend to push. They tend to shove what they believe is right for you on you, regardless of understanding you. And most high-achieving salespeople aren't persuaders in the auto industry. They're listeners, especially the ones that I've worked with that help get over 60 cars a month, right? They're listeners. They're not persuaders. And that's a better label than a great closer, in my opinion, right? So Ali is a student of learning, of awareness and understanding of his community. He loves his community. He loves his tribe. He loves his people. And like most salespeople, he has a natural group of people that come do business with him with no effort at all. Most salespeople that are new don't recognize patterns. Everything in life is about patterns. Your morning starts with your patterns, your habits, your rituals, your processes. If you notice salespeople, when you first start doing this business, in the first 90 days, if you wrote down everybody who came to visit the dealership, you'll notice a trend that you might have a lot of old people. You might notice a trend that, oh my God, there sure is a lot of nurses and doctors and stuff in here. Why is it that most of my customers have pets? You know, I am a tattoo person magnet. You know, they're all lesbians. There are patterns to what you naturally attract. They're all credit challenged. I got a lot of credit challenged people. And what people say is, well, I don't want that kind of customer. Well, you're cray-cray. These customers are your energy level. They're vibrating at your frequency with no effort at all. If you learn how to step into that current of humans, you will have more of those humans in your life. But you have to wake up and see what you're attracting in the universe with no effort at all. And so when you come to the dealership to work, my recommendation is for you, wait on everybody. You want to piss off everybody in the dealership. You want to dive under an SUV and outrun the old people. You want to get to the up before everybody can. You want to screw up as many deals as you can, and then after you get the deal, whether you sell them or don't sell them, you go get your pencil and paper and say, this is what happened. This is how it happened. This is what happened next. This is what else I could have said. This is how else I could have handled that. This is what else I could have showed them. Don't sell a car and then go get another car, right? Write down what happened. Become a student of your career. This is a life-changing career. Ali makes $2 million a year because in 2010, he came to a seminar and took notes and said, you know what? I think I'm going to try this. And he's taken notes he's been to 20-something seminars. He's taken notes at every seminar. I just did a seminar in December in Detroit. He had 2 pages of notes. I asked him, I said, what in the hell did you write? He said, you're teaching better. I'm getting new stuff. So he was, first thing.
So Damian, he was the guy in their story that wanted to talk to was he the guy? Did he come to your seminar?
Ali?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to talk to Greg.
That was
first.
him.
Yeah. Yeah. So he talked to Greg, right? And I'd worked with Greg at Beeman, right? And then the first 100 car I worked with was Derek. He was in Honolulu. And he was at 70 when I first met him. And when I told him to move away from transactional and only wait, I said, your hardest customer should be a referral. You should not wait on anybody who's not referred to you. You should hand them off to another salesman. It's a waste of time. Oh boy, he's like, oh no, man, I'm gonna feel. And then every time I've done this with salespeople, I've got to talk them off the roof. Don't panic. I know it feels like you're not busy, but you're more productive and you're more efficient and you're more profitable and you're more scalable. Trust me, just breathe. The universe will fill in the gaps when the time is right. And that's what happens every time. And this is so contrarian to what the industry teaches. Busy is not productive. Busy is just busy. And so I'll tell you the story that got Ali to want to write the How to Sell 100 Cars book. Well, I'll tell you the story of that, right? So we're doing a seminar in Detroit again, and he broke 100 cars a couple of times, right? And time for the seminar. And he's sitting in the same seat, it's second row, first chair, to the left of the room. And I asked the audience, there's about 140 people in the room. I said, how many of y'all ever met somebody who sells 100 cars in a month? And 3 people's hands went up, and they all work with Ali, right? And then I said, if you sell 100 cars, stand up. And Ali stood up, and all the air sucked out of the room. Nobody was breathing. And we looked at each other and we went, oh my God, they see it. It doesn't matter how many times I tell people that you can sell 100 cars. They can't believe until they see it. And then once they see it, they can never unsee it again. They need to see him. He needs to be seen. That's why he agreed. He said, so how can I give back? And so the next seminar, I said, perfect. Let's get you on stage. And he got on stage for about 3 minutes and he sucked. That's not going to work. And that's when we wrote the How to Sell 100 Cars book. And that's still a free download for your audience, right? They can read that book. How to Sell 100cars.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page. I'm gonna try to sell you the book in the top part of the page. You want to go past the top part of the page, scroll all the way down. Put your email in, I'll send you the PDF, right? And then you can read the story of Ali Rita. And the purpose of that book is to not sell you on getting 100 cars, just to getting to your next level. If that's 3, if that's 4 a month more, that's powerful. You do that over 5 years, that's 20 cars. That's 20 cars a year, more than the first year you were in the business. Simply because you're scaling your business now. But to scale your business, you have to rethink the business differently, because our business doesn't teach salespeople how to scale. They teach dealers how to scale by hiring more salesmen who are going to sell 10 cars a month. And that don't work for salespeople. You got to have a better business plan than your dealer does. Make sense?
Yeah. It reminds me of the 4-minute mile.
The 4-minute mile is the story we use in that book, in the How to Sell 100 Cars book. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's also Ali Rita standing up as the gentleman who has sold successfully 100 cars. It's the belief, like, oh my gosh, if it, let's reverse engineer that.
Yeah. And look, there's no way I could have told him he could have sold 100 cars when I first met him. He could see 60 because Greg did 60.
Right.
He couldn't see 100. He couldn't see Cal. Cal is in San Antonio. He was selling 73 a month. I was working with him. He couldn't see Cal. He's nothing like Cal, first of all. Cal is a hippie, at the time, he was crazy. But now he's a general manager now. But Cal was selling 73, but he didn't relate to Ali at all. Greg related to Ali because he was part of a tribe, right? He's part of a community. These are my people. That's how I got there, the Cajun people. My patterns were South Louisiana, which was 2.5 hours away, and hotshot drivers, oil field drivers, UPS drivers, postal service drivers, right? For some reason, those were my people. They all knew me. They all came around me. They all knew each other because of me. That tribe of people was my people. Naturally, they came to me for some crazy reason. Doctors, when I was at Texas Children's, I'd be in the ICU waiting room. I'd be sleeping or something. It'd be 3 o'clock in the morning. Some doctor could come in. Damian, I'm Dr. Floyd. Yeah, doc. What flavor doctor are you for her? He said, no. Dr. Kessler said you could help me get a Suburban from my wife. And I said, oh, doc, yeah. Let's talk. And I'll start asking questions about what his wife wanted. You want me to drive one to her tomorrow? Is it for you or her? He said, well, it's for her. So she's the decision maker, huh? And he says, don't be a smart ass. I said, Doc, I'm going to y'all take such good care of my daughter. There's no way I'm taking advantage of y'all. Y'all are going to get whatever I can. He said, well, Dr. Kessler said to come see you. I said, well, look, I'll call your wife tomorrow and talk to her, and I'll carry one over to your house. And you don't even have to come into the dealership. I'll just make sure we'll do the paperwork here at the hospital if you. And so all of a sudden, I'm in the hospital selling cars business because I'm in the hospital a lot. So wherever you are, there's your business plan, right?
Wow.
Unreal. Where were you when I was selling cars? Holy smokes. I might not be sitting here, Chris.
My thing is, I'm not a whistleblower. I don't tell everybody, I wish I was more like, those people who can get out there and tell you how good they are. Doesn't fit me, right? Grant could do it. Dawson can do it. Bradley can do it. Verdi can do it. All these people, Dawson, they're brilliant at marketing themselves. I am repulsed by it. So I don't do it. I have people do it for me, right?
So should we talk a little bit about customer experience?
Yeah.
This is going to be a 3-part episode, so we're going to keep going.
So with all the challenges of online retailers such as Carvana and Vroom, threatening the brick and mortar businesses, what's your recommendation to the car dealers?
They should compete with them because they're impersonal. They should try to be impersonal as possible.
Well,
no, you should lean into the humanity of what your advantage is. Your competitive advantage is that if you have a relationship with somebody in the dealership, not with the location, not 221 Main Street, we have a building, great news, you should have a relationship with this building. That's bullshit. You should have relationships, and you should have relationships with your community. The showroom floor should not begin on 221 Main Street. It should begin at the children's basketball game and the high school football game. And it should begin at the mall. And it should begin at the grocery store. And it should go to the barbecue on Sunday. It should go and extend to the recent school events or the events to the community. That's where your showroom floor begins. It's not about transaction. It's about community. It's about connection to community, for community's benefit. You're the people of your dealership have so many relationships with the people in the community, and we don't make the connections to naturally help their people. That if we did, we'd be connected to the community because of our people. We don't know what our people are interested in charity-wise because we have our own interest as the dealer. But what if we knew that our dealer employees were interested in participating in this in the community? Now we have relationships connected to the community. And so that's the advantage that a dealer has, is that connection to community.
Yeah, the online retailers can't do that.
Can't do that, won't do that. Let me tell you something. Hurricane Katrina happens. Hurricane Rita happens. Hurricane Laura happens. Hurricane Delta happens. Tell me what Carvana donated to New Orleans.
Don't know.
Tell me what AutoNation donated to Houston. Maybe so. That's their home city. But what you don't see is what the local dealers do for their community. Passing out food every day, handing out water every day. When there's a crisis, who shows up? The internet bullshit or the local dealer? You ever seen a little league team with Carvana on the back of the jersey?
Nope.
Nope. But you do see Osterled Ford.
Yeah.
You ever see the local schools get donations by the other, car gurus or whoever? But you do see the local dealer, private dealer mostly.
Yeah.
Family dealer.
What's really cool about that is, some dealers have done it for years, but it wasn't that visible. Now with social media, they could really make their their charitable contributions visible and expose it. And that's really exciting, because you're right. The best dealers are the ones that are immersed and really contribute in their communities.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great.
When it comes to reputation, I tell you a story my dad told me about reputation. It's a little jaded. When I was younger, Dad said this story. He said, old Mr. Guidry, that boy, he put in all the stained glass windows in the Catholic Church. I said, I didn't know that. He said, well, Mr. Guidry. I said, oh, I heard about Mr. Guidry. He said, yeah, they don't call him Mr. Guidry, the stained glass builder. He said, you know that big mural downtown Lake Charles, that big mural that was painted gorgeous? He did that. Didn't know that. He said, yeah, they don't call him Mr. Guidry, the artist. But you fuck one goat.
You're a goat fucker for life. Oh, man. Oh, that's great. That is great. Reputation is a funny thing. You either can't live up to it or some can't live it down.
And Dad said, it takes a whole life to build a reputation. It takes you 30 seconds to lose it.
Yeah. That's right.
And he said, there's all kind of ways to lose it. With men, there is one surefire product that they own on their body that will cause them to screw up.
That's right.
That thing will cause havoc in their life if they don't learn to control it early. Yeah. You got to know your rules. You got to know the rules of engagement for taking care of your clients, right? And it's simple. If you have call reluctance, if you have a challenge, you have to realize, okay, how do I get this? You might want to write these down. How do I get what I'm about to do to work for my customer? It's got to work for them. So whatever the phone call or the email or the conversation or the presentation, how do I get it to work for my customer? Number two, how do I get it to work for me? Because so often we're told to say things, and what we're told to say, we start to say, and we have to go around our heart because that's not us. And when it flows through our vocal cords, we don't even sound like ourselves. We're so out of integrity with our authenticity that we change how we sound. So we have to say, how do I get what I'm about to say to sound like me and be like me? And so I can be myself in this conversation. And the third thing, is what I'm about to say 100% truthful? Because there is no such thing as a good lie. An omission is a lie. And all lies have consequences. If you're going to sell a lot of cars, you can't remember your lies. So you wise to stop lying early. So good for the customer, good for me, and in integrity, honest. These are the 3 rules of engagement. You also have to know, what do customers expect? And they expect a lot of things. They want to be welcomed. They want to be recognized. They want to be treated well. They want it right now. They want a perfect product. They want incredible service. They want extra, more than they paid for. They want more value than price, right? They want interesting and entertaining and fun and delightful. They want all these experiences. They want you to be honest with them and upfront. They want to feel safe and comfortable. They want a clean environment. They have all these expectations, the same as you do when you go to a restaurant, right? But they basically have only 4 demands. The first demand they have is they want a perfect product. And on this planet, that's not possible. The second thing is they want it now. And in most cases, that's not possible. The third thing is they want a delightful experience in spite of F&I needing to pitch a tent and 4 hours later. They still want a delightful experience. And when one of these 3 things does not go right, or all 3 of them don't go right, the 4th thing they want builds loyalty if delivered successfully. And that is, they want to know that you care. So you have to know how to show care. How do you show someone that you care? First, when one of these things goes wrong, the first thing, own the problem. My fault. Do not push it on somebody else. No testimonies of failures. It's my fault. I'm going to fix it right now, whatever it takes. No testimonies of failure. You own the problem. Fix it now, whatever it takes. You do that, and you will have a loyal customer. I don't want satisfied customers. It just means they're not unhappy. I want loyal customers who's going to say, I'm going to tell you, I had a problem, he fixed it. I had a problem, she took care of it. Anytime I have a problem, it's done. You want that reputation, not the reputation management, but the reputation loyalty, the reputation before it ever shows up as a repair. You should never need to repair because you're always in front of it. And so that's how you build, in my book, Keep It Simple Selling, that first couple of chapters, one of the chapters is how are you judged? That's chapter 4. And that chapter is 100% on how do you build reputation? How do you build integrity? How do you build, you're the one that can always be counted on, that your word is done. That when you say 12 o'clock, it ain't 12:01. It's 11:55. That's how you know, correct? You call before your appointment you're going to be late for. If my appointment's at noon and I'm going to be late, I call it 11:30. I might be running a little late. Even if it's a minute, I'm calling it 11:30. You have pre-warned knowledge, and I might still show up on time, but I can tell you that I'm going to put you in a position where you're not going to wonder, I wonder if he remembered about me. Because that is not good for the customer. I am going to under-promise, and then I'm going to check in with them before I tell them I will, and I'm going to deliver it before I said I would. And if there's a delay, I tell them about the delay well before they realize something ain't right. And that is how you build reputation.
Nice.
Man. Oh my gosh. So much good stuff, brother. Unbelievable. What do you think, Chris?
So I guess to wrap it up, Damian, what would you say to a salesperson going into 2024? There's a lot of talk of a downturn. There's a lot of talk of less sales. What would you say to a salesperson that's facing that in the automotive industry?
I just had this conversation 2 days ago. Yesterday. I just had this conversation yesterday. There will be nightmares that show up in 2024. They are going to blow up the world to create all kind of noise and shiny objects to get you to pay attention and be deathly afraid of everything in the life. There may be a new COVID. They definitely may be new riots. There will be a new faction that we have misgendered or misquoted or misdone something to piss off the world. And they are going to, and I always say they, I mean the media, they are going to hype up hell. And you can't buy the product because it's just a bullshit product, just like COVID was. Just like all that shit was with the Wuhan shit, right? Just like weapons of mass destruction. It is all bullshit. All you're responsible for is that 1 square foot you're standing in or sitting in right now. And you need to be optimistic. It's your time. You need to be positive. You need to be the light one. You need to be the one showing up positively every day saying, I'm loving this shit. How can I help you? Well, don't you know it's bad? That's what I love about it. I'm here to love you in spite of how bad it is. Let me help you. And you're going to be helping a lot of people because you're the only one who's going to be in the light. You got to be more in the light because they're going to be putting darkness all over your ass. Don't buy the dark. It's all bullshit. They sell fear so badly. They sell you on fear. I watch people scared. I got to, this COVID thing, I got to watch my family freak the hell out and be pissed at me because I wasn't scared. Give it to me. I'll take it. If I die, I die. But it was all a big scare campaign. And look, were they people who died? Yeah, but they have 5 damn comorbidities. They were fat and diabetic and high blood pressure and smoked cigarettes and ate 40 pounds of chips every week. And they hadn't been out of their chair in 7 months. And well, hell yeah, they're going to die. They should have died anyway. But what we don't realize is those healthy people, rarely did they die. They just got the flu. Don't buy the bullshit. Don't buy the fear. Do not buy the fear. I'm telling you, there's different products and there are different people out there who I promise you will be selling your life. Find them, turn to that channel.
Yeah.
That I'll give you a hint. Fox, MSNBC, CNN, NBC, ABC, they will not be selling the light. Just if you're interested in my humble opinion, they are not going to sell light.
Brother, man, this has been an absolute pleasure. Listen, on behalf of the entire crew here at Reputation Sensei by Digital Media Nation, certainly Chris and myself, we'd like to express sincere gratitude for the over an hour and 30 minutes that you spent enlightening our community. There were more wisdom nuggets than we could have ever paid for. Just so you know, the check is most certainly in the mail. Reciprocity is real, brother, and you have so much good fortune coming your way because of what you shared today. So thank you so much. Where can our people reach out?
Auto Training Academy. Go download the book, How to Sell 100 Cars, and enjoy the book. Call Chris. He knows how to get in touch with me all the time.
Thank you, Damian. Grateful.
That's all for this episode of the Sensei Playbook. May these strategies help you build a powerful business roadmap and dominate the online marketplace right now. Be sure not to miss another episode jam-packed with valuable advice from our marketing martial artists, Bill and Chris, by subscribing to the podcast at podcast.reputationsensei.com. Don't forget to share with your friends and fellow entrepreneurs who also aspire for massive business success. Thank you for listening. Until next time.